up, y'all? It's your girl Jerica, and I am back with yet another Ghetto Bible Tale. And just like all the other Ghetto Bible Tales in this season, this one came requested. So today we're gonna be talking about your boy Elijah and the widow. Get ready for this one. Today's video was requested by a lady by the name of Vanessa here on YouTube. Hi, Vanessa. Prior to her requesting this, I think I only read this once. I never really got into it like that, but here we are. So thank you to Vanessa for requesting this video. If you want to request your own video, you want to see your favorite Bible story told, you can leave a comment on this video or on any video on the channel. You can go to the request section at ghettobibletails.com. There are so many ways you can request a video on my Instagram. Wherever you can leave a comment, I can see it. So go leave a request if you want your favorite Bible story told. But anyway, before we can get into the story of Elijah and the widow, we must first discuss rules of context. Yes, I have a video that is dedicated to the rules of context that breaks it down even further. I will link that video in the description box. However, we're just going to run through the rules real fast and get into our story. Rule number 1, language. Bible wasn't originally written in English. It was written in Hebrew and the second half in ancient Greek. So you kind of have to consider that when you're trying to read and understand the Bible. Rule number 2, history and culture. The history and culture of the Bible is of ancient Israel culture. You cannot apply your modern day culture to the Bible. The rules are different, the customs are different, everything is different, and it will not work. You will confuse yourself. Rule number 3, reading the Bible as a whole. Please stop cutting bits and pieces, chopping, dividing. Stop it. Take the Bible for what it is. Read it from beginning to end, Genesis to Revelations, in its entirety. The final rule of context, ladies and gentlemen, is the Holy Spirit. You got to go to God. You got to pray to him. You got to ask him to give you understanding. And he does that by letting his Holy Spirit sit upon you and teach you, because it is the best teacher. Once you gain an understanding of the rules of context, we can proceed on in our story. The story of Elijah and the widow takes place in the book of 1 Kings, chapter 17, verses 7 through 16. The story starts off with Elijah confronting Ahab. I have done a few Ghetto Bible Tales featuring these two. I want to say that there are like at least 3 that mention Ahab and his family. I will link all the videos with that mention Elijah as well as Ahab in the description box. There are a lot. I have talked about these two a lot. One of the original Ghetto Bible Tales from back in 2015 featured Elijah, which actually canonically follows this story. So after you watch this one, you should definitely go back and watch that old Ghetto Bible Tale, because that story follows this one in the Bible. But anyway, Ahab is the king of northern Israel. History and culture. At this point in the Bible, Israel has split into 2 nations. Northern Israel is the consolidation of 11 tribes. Southern Israel is known as Judah, which is that one tribe of Judah, which eventually in the future will be the only remaining tribe of Israel. All the other 11 will be wiped out eventually. But anyway, Ahab is the king of northern Israel, and the Bible states that Ahab is the king that provoked God the most. Once again, I have a video dedicated to what happens to Ahab because of how much he provokes God. I will leave all those videos in the links to all those videos in the description box below. Please go watch them because they are funny and they are informative. I'm just saying. Anyway, at this time, Ahab has married a Phoenician woman by the name of Jezebel, and Jezebel is a worshiper of Baal. And due to Ahab being a jellyback man, he let Jezebel take over all of the religious things in the country. So she basically wipes out the temples of Yahweh, as well as gets rid of pretty much all the priests of Yahweh. A lot of them go into hiding, and a lot of them are executed. They're killed because she worships Baal. And so, a lot of them go to hide and a lot of them die. So Elijah is pretty much one of the only remaining prophets of Yahweh. He's the only one that is out in the open. And what I mean is he's not in hiding. Other prophets have went into hiding, and some of them don't say that they're a prophet of Yahweh. Like, they don't mention it. Nobody knows that they're a prophet because it's a secret, because Jezebel is killing these people. She's hunting them down. But Elijah is he is the only prophet of Yahweh that is left, that is out in the open. Like, he openly says that he is a prophet of Yahweh. And I want to say, if I'm not mistaken, this is really when his ministry begins to take off, when he becomes the only open prophet of Yahweh, is when his ministry takes off, and he becomes really infamous around Israel. Everybody begins to know of Elijah, not only because of his stance on religion, not only because he's a follower of God, but also because of his appearance, because the Bible tells us that Elijah dresses like a wild man, and he talks and kind of acts like a wild man. That's why they call John the Baptist in the New Testament, they call him the new Elijah, because they were very similar. Elijah walked around in bear cloths. His hair was unkempt. He lived in the wild. He stayed in the mountains. He stayed in the woods. He looks like a crazy man. So that was one of the reasons that Elijah was very, very infamous back in the day. Not only because of his belief in God, not only because of the miracles that God used him to facilitate, but also because of his outward appearance and the way he talked to people, because Elijah was not a people person. That's one thing you learn about him when you read his interactions with other humans. He wasn't really a people person. Like, he was very no nonsense. He was very nonchalant, and he kind of talked out the side of his neck to people. And a lot of people didn't like him. Like, truth be told, Elisha, who is Elijah's protege, the Bible states how more people liked Elisha, because not only did Elisha look presentable, but Elisha was nicer. Elijah did not look, presentable to regular people because of how he dressed, and then his attitude was bad. I ain't gonna say his attitude was bad. He had a very strong personality, and a lot of people don't like other people that have strong personalities. Like, Elijah had a strong personality. That much is evident in scripture. And Elisha, his protege, was definitely more laid back. You can tell the differences in their personalities when you read the Bible. And it does state that Elisha, whatever, however you say it, Elisha, his protege, was more liked by people. And Elijah, he was known by a lot of people, but he wasn't necessarily liked. And Ahab is one of the people who didn't really like Elijah, because Elijah always came with the truth to Ahab. And another prophet Ahab didn't like was Micaiah. Micaiah was also a protege of Elijah, and Micaiah stayed coming to Ahab with, the truth, that real. And Micaiah, in a sense, was a lot like Elijah. You could tell that he was a protege of Elijah. His personality was similar. Whereas Elisha, who is the main protege of Elijah, his personality was definitely the opposite. However, Elisha still had this respect for Elijah. Everybody had a respect for Elijah as a man of God, despite the fact that he had this strong personality and he looked like he was crazy. And that was a lot. I'm rambling. Let's go. So, like I said, at this time, there are no other prophets repping God. There are no Yahweh prophets, only Elijah. And Jezebel has pretty much influenced the entire nation of Israel to worship Baal. So there are, I want to say it said like over 2,000 Baal prophets. And they have so many temples and altars dedicated to Baal. And like I said, there's no more temples for Yahweh, and Elijah is the only prophet left. You may not know this, but Baal is the god of fertility as well as the god of earth, rain, and dew. So basically, he's like the main god. Like, other idol gods, they're usually the god of like one thing. Like, there's a god of water, there's a god of fire, there's a god of tilling the land. Baal was a direct comparison to Yahweh. So he was like the main god of creation is what Baal was. They called him, the god of fertility, and then they called him the god of earth, rain, and dew. And in order for there to be humans, in order for there to be food and crops, the land and people must be fertile. So they will pray to Baal for that. So Baal was pretty much a direct comparison to Yahweh. Elijah goes to Ahab, who is the king of northern Israel, and like I said, his wife is Jezebel, and they have facilitated Baal worship all over Israel. Elijah goes to him, and he tells him, there ain't gonna be no more rain, there ain't gonna be no more dew, there's gonna be a famine in the land, and the land's about to dry up. It ain't gonna rain until I say so, by the power invested in me by God, the God Yahweh of Israel. He says that to Ahab, and then he leaves. This right here, being that Baal is the god of creation, basically, like I said, he is a direct comparison to Yahweh. Yahweh was like, I'm finna show these people who really about that life, like who the real creator is. So Elijah coming to Ahab and Jezebel about this, specifically saying that there won't be no rain, was to mock Baal, because Baal is the god of fertility, the god of earth, the god of rain and dew. He even has the nickname as the god of the storm. So Elijah straight up went to both of them and said, there ain't gonna be no rain until I say so, by the power invested in me by the God Yahweh. So basically, Elijah said, it ain't gonna rain till Yahweh say it rain, not Baal. And then, he skedaddled, he scooted, because y'all know Jezebel said she was gonna kill him. She hunted him down after this. And because of this, because his life is in danger, God instructs Elijah to go into hiding. He told him to go to the brook of Cherith. I don't know if I'm saying that right. The name of the place is at the bottom of the screen. Brook of Cherith. It was like a little body of water, because at this time, the bodies of water around Israel are about to dry up. But God instructed Elijah to go wait by this brook for a while, so he would have some water there. And God told him that to drink from that brook, and that he would instruct ravens to bring him food. This is the part that would have been hard for me, because I remember I attended a Bible study about this story, and the man that was teaching it, he said that the ravens was chewing up the food and spitting it out, giving it to Elijah. And I just kept thinking, now, Lord, I wouldn't have been able to eat that. I'm sorry. I would not have been, Lord. I'm like, you couldn't just, wrap it in a basket and just, what I'm saying, get the raven to, drop it off. Kind of like the stork do on the cartoons with the babies, how the babies be wrapped up in a blanket and they just go drop it off at the house. But you know what? That might be what happened. So basically, Elijah like a baby bird, and the ravens are just spitting food in his mouth. That ain't biblical. All it says is that the raven brought him food, but that is just how it was taught to me. So I hope that ain't what he had to do. I hope that they just, brought him a sandwich that was in a Ziploc bag and they just dropped it off. I hope that that's what it was. But you know what? Now that I'm looking at this, y'all know back in when the children of Israel were coming from Egypt and God supplied them with manna to eat, This might have been the same situation for Elijah. The birds might have been bringing him manna, but back in the day, during Moses and them day, the manna would rain from heaven. That's why they say, bread of heaven, feed me till I want no more. That's the bread they was talking about, the manna that would rain from heaven. And that's how God would feed the children of Israel when they were coming from Egypt on their way to the promised land. He fed them manna. Bread rained down from heaven. So I'm assuming that maybe, just maybe, the birds brought Elijah some manna. Maybe, but I don't know. This is just me speculating. But either way, God told him to drink this water and that the birds would bring him food. Was this how Elijah how to depend on God? Like, this strengthened their relationship. Like, the land is drying up. You cannot grow any food. When the land is dry and there is no rain, it is impossible for seeds to grow. It's impossible for you to grow food. So basically, during this time, Elijah's relationship with God is getting stronger because, like I said, he said it wasn't gonna be no rain. This not only affected Ahab and them, this affected the entirety of Israel. So this had to teach Elijah. So that means Elijah was affected as well. So he wasn't gonna have no food because he can't grow no food. You can't grow no food. Obviously, he wasn't no hunter. He couldn't go out and shoot no deer for dinner. And more than likely, he probably didn't eat meat. So he had to depend on God to supply him with food during this time of drought and famine. So eventually, the brook that he is staying at dries up. This body of water dries up. And God tells Elijah, it's time for you to move on. I need you to go to a place called Zarephath. I don't know if I'm saying that right. It's at the bottom of the screen. Zarephath is a Gentile city. So these are not Israelites. These are Gentiles. Okay. And God tells him, that he has commanded a widow there to take care of him. Elijah packs up and he goes to this city. Also, I wanted to before I can get into that, I wanted to talk about, Gentiles and God. People are always saying stuff, we the true Israelites and all that BS. God shows us multiple times in the Bible how a Gentile is used. A Gentile can come to God. God will use a Gentile. God will save a Gentile. A Gentile will be God's people because everybody is God's people. Everybody's so stuck on, we want to be the chosen people. The chosen people didn't even want to be chosen. Stop. God love us all. Gentile, Israelite, whatever. God love all of us. God will use all of us. God will save all of us. All you have to do is choose him. You choose God, you're chosen. Boom. That's it. You don't need no title of Israelite or Gentile. Okay. But anyway, Elijah goes to the city. He meets a woman. She's a widow. He sees her at the wall of the city, I think it says. At the gate. She's at the gate of the city. And she's gathering sticks because she is trying to build a fire at her home. When he sees her, he asks her to bring him some water and some bread. And, she says that she has no bread. All she has is a little bit of flour and a little bit of oil. And she about to use it to make the final meal for her and her son. Because after this, they gonna die. Because she don't got no more food. She ain't got no more money. It's a famine in the land, so she can't grow nothing. So basically, all she got is this little bit of flour and this little bit of water. And this little bit of oil to make her last meal for her and her child. Elijah tells her to make him a small cake from the bread that she has. And he says, put it out first for me. And then the rest of it, you make for you and your son. And he said, and I promise you that if you do this, your bread would never run out until the day God sends rain. So basically, it was, honestly, this was like a tithe. He told her, go, because, when you tithe, you're supposed to give God your first 10, he's supposed to get the first out of your stuff. So as soon as you get your paycheck, before you even spend it on anything, that first 10%, you take it out and give it to God. So this was practicing tithe. Because, back in the time, I got a video dedicated to tithe, and please go watch it. Because, back in the day when they tithed, it was to take care of people who were without. So he didn't have anything, nothing. Like, she had a little bit of yeast, she had a little bit of oil, she had a little bit of flour, whatever, to make her bread. He had absolutely nothing. So he told her, go ahead and make mine first. Take mine out first. Make it. Give it to me. Leave the rest for yourself, and it will never run out. This woman, for her to be a Gentile, she had to have, first of all, she had to have a good heart, because the entire land is going through a famine. Bro, it's every man for himself out here. Like, you ain't about to get my last piece of bread for me and my child. So she's a widow. She don't have a husband. It's just her and her child. So that means she the provider. Me and my child. This is all we got. And here you come, a stranger, talking about, I need to make it and give it to you. Give you a piece of it first before my baby gets some. Nigga, I don't know you. So I'm thinking sis had to have an amazing heart. And she had to feel for him to be this stranger asking her for bread and then making a promise about a God that she don't even believe in. Like, she don't believe in Yahweh. This is a Gentile city, homie. And like I said, Jezebel had influenced an entire Israelite nation to follow Baal. So I can only imagine that in a Gentile city, Baal's probably already the God that they followed. And so here comes this strange man offering to, give her an endless supply of bread from a God that she don't believe in. But I'm also assuming Yahweh has a reputation. So not only does this lady maybe have a good heart, but Yahweh has a reputation, so much so to the point that she obviously believed what Elijah said. And she went and fixed the bread, gave him a small cake first. He ate first, and then her and her child ate the rest. And like Elijah said, that little bread that she had left, it didn't run out. She just had bread over and over and over and over and over again. Like, y'all ate some, they come back the next day, look in the refrigerator, it's still some bread up in there. So basically, it multiplied her supply of flour and oil when she helped Elijah out. I'm just saying, why everybody else out here struggling to survive because it's a famine in the land, sis is rolling in dough. Literally. But anyway, eventually, even though they didn't run out of food, eventually the son gets sick and dies. And when he dies, the woman, she kind of indirectly blames Elijah for the death of her child. And Elijah, I guess he feels some type of way, like he feels some type of responsibility for this child dying, because he like weeps, he cries, and he's like, I'm so sorry. I can't believe this has happened. And so, cause he was staying with them. Elijah was staying with this woman and her child during this time. So he was been staying there for a minute, and the child, got sick and died. He wept. Elijah said, I'm so sorry. I'm going to talk to Yahweh about this. He took the child in his arms. He went up to the upper room. He laid the child down, and he kind of laid his whole body over the child, weeping and crying to God about this child. And he was just like, Lord, now you brought me to this woman's house, and we have supplied food and we've been blessed since I've been here, Lord, but I don't know how to explain this child dying, Lord. Like, what can you, what? And he prays to God, and he's like, this is an inexplainable tragedy, and I need you to come through for me right now. And he laid on the child. He laid over him 3 times. I guess it's just like a ritualistic thing. He laid over him 3 times. And he asked God to please revive him. And after the 3rd time, the child came back to life. And Eli took him back to his mama. And then she looks at him. She looks at her child. She was like, you are really a man of God. I think that this was for, what I'm assuming is, despite the fact that on Elijah's word that they will have an endless supply of bread, and that they have been having an endless supply of bread, that obviously wasn't enough for her to believe in the God Yahweh. And because of that, God was like, I guess the miracle need to be a little bigger. So the son dies, and Elijah brings the son back to life. And now the woman is like, okay, so your God is really real. So like, basically, I guess she was like, that little trick you did with the bread was real cute or whatever, but it wasn't enough to convert me, homie. And then her child dies, and she knew he was dead. She knew her child was dead. She saw him take his last breath. She did CPR, and he didn't come back. And then all of a sudden, he go upstairs with Elijah. He come back an hour later, and he alive and well, running around here causing the ruckus. You know, like little children do. That was enough for her to be like, yeah, so your God is real. Whatever this other God is out here, it ain't about that life. Your God is the real God. So that's the end of Elijah's story. Elijah and the widow. I'm sorry. That's the story of Elijah and the widow. But you do not have to take my word for it. You can turn to 1 Kings chapter 17, verses 7 to 16 and read it for yourself. Thank you to Miss Vanessa on YouTube for requesting this video. If you want to request your own video, your own Bible story that you want to see me retell, you can leave a comment on this video, or you can hit me up on Instagram. You can go to ghettobibletales.com, scroll down to the request section, type in your request there. You can also leave a comment on a community tab post on YouTube as well. I do see y'all comments, and if I liked it, like if I heart your comment, it means I read it. So shout out to Miss Vanessa for requesting this video. I hope y'all enjoyed it. Like I said, I have done so many Ghetto Bible Tales featuring Elijah and Ahab and Jezebel. Thank y'all so much for watching this video. Please like, comment, and subscribe. And until next time, peace out, y'all. I love y'all. Mwah.